Hi guys, welcome into Sports Burst. I'm Gabrielle Amado. This is Andres Cordero, and Sports Burst is brought to you today by Bosch Icon High Performance Windshield Wipers. We have such an exciting show for you because we have breaking news straight from Barcelona. Is Valverde about to be sacked? We are going to check in with Jamie Easton momentarily and also talk a little bit of Suarez, a little bit of Liverpool, hop on the transfer train, and talk Serena Williams. All this on Sports Burst. That starts now.
Sports Burst is presented by Bosch Icon High Performance Windshield Wipers.
The time has come to show you guys our high-performance player of the season thus far. This, of course, presented by Bosch Icon High-Performance Windshield Wipers. And the winner is this man, the six-time Ballon d'Or winner, Lionel Messi. Even after not being fully fit until round 8 of La Liga, Leo already has 13 goals and 6 assists to his name, leading the Pichichi race while also helping Barcelona lead the La Liga title race. And on the topic of Barcelona and La Liga, Dre, breaking news as we speak.
Yeah, worth noting, by the way, Barca ruined a pretty good Messi performance in the semifinals of the Supercopa, which we will talk about in a moment. The final, not the semifinal. What we all presumed was happening seems to be happening. It's not been officially announced, but Ernesto Valverde appears to be on his way out. Reports from Barcelona that he has already packed his bags, that he'll say goodbye to the players, the locker room, and his assistant coaches tomorrow. And this has been an embarrassing ordeal for Barcelona. If you want to fire Pep Guardiola, I'm not even that bothered about getting rid of a manager who's top of the table. It's the how, especially for a club that pretends to have these values, to be more than a club, to be more than just a cutthroat elite club, big business.
Right.
And this has been gone about in the most embarrassing way possible.
And we do want to check in with Jamie Easton to get the latest, who is live at the Camp Nou. Jamie, what exactly is going on? Because as per sources, the Barcelona board have now been in a meeting for over 4 hours. So give us the latest.
Yeah, they're just behind us. They are meeting there in the Camp Nou offices, discussing many topics, but especially the bench of FC Barcelona. It seems like this morning was the last training session for Ernesto Valverde. He arrived 2 hours, 45 minutes before the training session started. And there, at the Barca Sports City, President Bartomeu went to meet him for the first time, to explain him for the first time everything that was happening, because nobody inside the club had explained, had told anything to Ernesto Valverde, and he was just figuring out, because of what was appearing in the media, all those negotiations with Xavi Hernandez, negotiations with Ronald Koeman, and the board wanting him to go, and he didn't know anything until today. Today he has known, and reports in Barcelona already say, as Andres said, that he has packed his stuff, and we are expecting at what time the board will be finishing. There were all my mates there, and everybody was asking the same question. Will there be a press conference after the board meeting? Because nobody has told us anything here at the Camp Nou. There are nerves inside, there are nerves among the press officers in Barcelona, because normally when this sort of meetings take place, which is Mondays every 3 weeks, for example, they normally say at the end of the meeting there will be a press conference. Today they have said nothing, and here we start to speculate that maybe even President Bartomeu could give that press conference because of all the criticism he has got from media, from fans, from absolutely everybody in Barcelona because of the way they have treated Ernesto Valverde.
Jamie, do we know how this got out? Because I believe even Xavi referenced it during a press conference in Qatar, and this was something that probably should have been done quietly. We know that the CEO, Grau, and the sporting director, Eric Abidal, traveled to Qatar to meet with Xavi, who was training Al Sadd ahead of a cup final. How did this come to light? Do we know?
Yeah, they wanted to hide everything. In fact, what Barcelona said as an official version is that they went to see Ousmane Dembélé recovering from his injury, but they spent 3 days in Doha. Come on, you don't spend 3 days just figuring out how Ousmane Dembélé is recovering. You were there to negotiate with Xavi Hernandez. You were there to wait for his answer. The problem for this Barcelona board is that this was leaked. In fact, if they don't want that to get leaked, it doesn't get leaked. because Abidal and Xavi Hernandez are friends. They have the phone number, and they just have to contact one to each other. And many things were leaked from inside the club. Ronald Koeman negotiations, suddenly Bob Martinez appears, suddenly Pochettino appears. A lot of names have appeared, so they've done things really bad, and that's why they are getting criticism. But as I said, if they wanted to keep this discreet, they would have kept it discreet. So somebody from inside the club didn't want to get things discreet, wanted everything to get out, just to put some pressure, just to show all the Barca fans that they are working, that they are doing things, because Valverde is still being criticized. And what nobody has an explanation is why this board just relies on Valverde, keeps their confidence on Valverde after what happened at Anfield, after what happened in the Copa del Rey final, and suddenly now, when they are La Liga leaders, when they have qualified for the Champions League, Valverde has to go. It is the first time in the entire history of this club that they will sack a manager when leading La Liga. The last time this happened at this club was 2003 with Van Gaal, and the team was 20 points below the leaders. So it's a complete different situation.
And Jamie, you just mentioned that the board have always backed Valverde. Messi and Suarez also have always backed Valverde publicly, but you named some names that may take over. Xavi apparently said no, not for now. You said Pochettino, maybe the B team manager, Garcia Pimienta. Who is the favorite in line to take over if Valverde is sacked today?
This morning there were three options on the table. One is Mauricio Pochettino. That is the dream for President Bartomeu. Is the candidate he likes best after Xavi Hernandez and Koeman have said no. The problem is that Pochettino said not long time ago that he'd rather go to the farm back in Argentina to train Barcelona. He's an Espanyol fan, and his dream is to train Real Madrid, not Barcelona. So nobody here forgets about those quotes, and they wouldn't understand. Nobody would understand here in Barcelona Pochettino arriving. The solution could be a manager that knows that he will come for 6 months and then a new project starts next summer. And only two names appear on the table with those characteristics: Quique Setién and Garcia Pimienta, the B team manager. We'll see what is the final decision once the meeting is over.
Well, thank you as always for your insight, Jamie. I'm sure we'll be hearing you a lot over the next couple days. Bye, Jamie.
Bye-bye.
Alrighty, and as if things couldn't get worse for Barcelona, Luis Suarez now ruled out for 4 months also, which was another big talking point at the weekend. People saying that Barcelona need to now get into the January transfer window and pick up a striker, or this season is going to go from bad to worse. Bad to worse, just as you said, they are top of La Liga and into the next round of the Champions League. Do they need to buy someone new, or do they rely on Carles Perez and Ansu Fati and Griezmann to fill in that void?
We knew that they were already interested in signing another center forward. Luis Suarez welcomed somebody to come in, someone younger who could challenge him for playing time and who can add some of that intra-squad competition. So if the answer was they needed to sign an attacking player before Suarez's injury, then obviously the need grows exponentially now in the absence of Luis Suarez, effectively essentially for the rest of the season, because 4 months out, we're at the midpoint of the campaign. If he does come back, it's at the very, very end, and it's just sort of to get a few games under his belt. More than likely. The question, though, is do they need to sign a center forward, or do they just need someone who, preferably a left winger, if not a center forward, who can allow whoever the manager is next to sort of shuffle that attack a little bit? But This is the preposterous situation that Barcelona have put themselves in, because they're going to play differently moving forward, assuming Valverde is, in fact, absolutely gone. And they're going to have to pick up somebody during the January transfer window while they're trying to find a new manager. So it's just somebody that the manager wants to use. How does he want to use them? When you consider the options, just to stick to the point of players that they could conceivably sign in January, they're not the most attractive names when you think of someone like a Radamel Falcao or an Olivier Giroud. These aren't players at this stage in their career who are going to come into a Champions League contender and make a huge difference. Maybe Edison Cavani is one of the more interesting, more attractive names who's still at an elite level. Has lost his job at Paris, but there's reports that he already has a pre-contract agreement with Atletico to join them on a free transfer in the summer. And Paris looked like they would prefer to just keep him and have him play out his contract, so maybe he's off the board. And I think then the option the best option for Barcelona at center forward may be Antoine Griezmann. Not an ideal situation, but he can play in that position. He played there with Atletico. You'd still, even at Atleti, wanted him to have another forward to play off of.
Right.
Maybe they switch to a 4-4-2 with Messi and Griezmann in attack. Maybe they slot Ansu Fati in and sort of accelerate his progress into the club. They have options, but certainly you'd love to have a manager who had some clear ideas who can chime in on who the best options would be.
Right. And this is a reminder for everyone watching us on Facebook or in our beIN Extra channel to comment below and see and let us know who you think should replace Luis Suarez. Some names, though, that you didn't mention that are available in this January window. Gabigol.
That would be really interesting. He's, by all reports, sort of a difficult character to deal with. And you wonder, inserting him into this sort of hornet's nest at the moment, what that would do. Gabigol is probably looking for something long-term as well, and probably a situation where he could start. I don't know if Barcelona see him as a player who can be their starting center forward for the future.
And then another one always linked with the move to Barcelona, Carlos Vela, which now it looks like the perfect situation if you take him on loan, on a loan deal until the end of the season, similar to what you did with Kevin Prince Boateng. That didn't work out too well, but in that similar situation to fill this void.
He obviously has La Liga experience, but there would be a monumental drop-off. I don't know that he's necessarily at the level of what Barcelona want in a starting attacking player. And if you're looking at someone like a Carlos Vela, I wonder if you're not better off sort of promoting in-house with a Carles Perez or an Ansu Fati and giving some of those young kids more of an opportunity.
Let's see what you guys are saying in the comment section. Bavon Gray, give the youngsters a chance at Barcelona. A lot of people do want to see the Masia kids.
They do, until it doesn't work out.
Yeah, please read this comment from Fabian Cardolino. As a Barca fan, I'm okay throwing the season away to test out new squad tactics. Are you
Top of the table, into the Champions League knockout stage, just throw it away. Not to mention,
And we have Real Madrid fans in the room who are thrilled about this prospect of Barcelona throwing the season.
Most of Barcelona's top players are beyond the age of 30. You don't know how long you're going to keep this block of players together. Jordi Alba is one of the younger ones of those sort of, sacred cows, and he's already 30 years old. Gerard Piqué, obviously, Lionel Messi, Suarez, who's now injured. In the midfield, Busquets, Rakitic. These are all players who have the most minutes for Barcelona this season under Valverde, and they're some of the older players. So that window, unlike Real Madrid, who have been loading up on young talent and sending some of those guys away, like an Odegaard, like Llorente, players who for the future. Barca haven't necessarily done that. They've been trying to sort of maximize the final years, sadly, of Messi, however long he can play at this level, and they haven't really sort of loaded up on the young talent. In fact, they've done the opposite. You see someone like a Carles Aleñá go away to Betis in hopes of getting more playing time. Obviously, they can bring him back.
Right.
So I don't know that Barcelona are in a position to throw anything away. They have to compete to try and win absolutely everything that's in front of them, regardless of who's on that squad.
Lorena Rivas saying Dembele will be able to play soon, so giving Griezmann an opportunity to play in the middle could be a good option. Yes, Dembele is available mid-February, so it is true.
And he'll play 3 games, and then he'll go golfing with Gareth Bale again when they're both injured once more. So it's not, Dembele is not a player who's given you sort of assurances that he can stay fit and focused and, will be contributing for a long term. Every time he gets a few runs of games together, a hamstring pops up or something that keeps him off the pitch.
Right. Jonathan Quintanilla bringing up an interesting point. Barca fans laughed at Real Madrid for planning ahead years ago. You get to the point where maybe...
Hang on. No one laughed at Real Madrid.
Can't even get the question out.
No one laughed at Real Madrid for loading up on young talent.
Jonathan's friends did laugh at Real Madrid for planning ahead. But, I mean, let's look at Bartomeu and this Barcelona board's planning. They've tried to find a backup number 9 for Luis Suarez season after season. I mean, I have a list of the people that they tried and didn't work out.
Some from in-house, like Munir was promoted. Munir was supposed to be like La Perla, as they say, of the Barcelona B team.
Right.
They weren't necessarily super patient with him. And it's not as if he's, an every game starter for Sevilla now anyway. Kevin Prince Boateng was a bit of a weird one. I thought that was like a very specific technical wrinkle. The reason they brought him in, they wanted sort of a target center forward who can knock the ball down for the wingers. That didn't really pan out.
Paco Alcácer, another one, who they couldn't get the best out of him, and then he goes to Dortmund and he's doing sensational.
And even then, mostly, it's a weird one with Paco Alcácer because he seemed to be so much more effective coming off the bench than when he was put into the starting 11.
Right, and now you fast forward today and we have Carles Perez, Ansu Fati, and Griezmann, who can fill the void. We'll see who they choose.
Yeah, well, out of the available options, Griezmann is now your center forward. And so maybe you no longer play with three up top. Maybe a manager comes in and all of a sudden you're playing with, as I mentioned earlier, two forwards, Messi and Griezmann. Trouble is they're similar in sort of the things that they do. They like to drop a little bit deeper to be more involved with the buildup of the game. They like to both attack sort of from the right side coming in. So there's going to be a huge tactical puzzle to be put together for Barcelona. And we don't know who's even arranging the pieces going forward.
Right. Jude Patrick Alexis, how about Malcolm? Sold Malcolm to Zenit for the exact same amount of money that you bought him for. And a lot of people talking about Lautaro Martinez, but he's not available in this January window. He's happy at Inter, and that's not.
You could daydream about Lewandowski. You could daydream about Harry Kane. You could daydream about, as you mentioned, Lautaro. Those are not guys that are going to be certainly not available now in January for you. And if they are available for you in the summer, they're all players that you're paying over 100 million euro for. So you're going into another summer where you're dropping down, 100 plus to sign. It didn't work out with Coutinho. It's still to be seen with Dembele. They've done it again with Antoine Griezmann. They already have the most bloated payroll in all of European football. They're the first team ever to average 10 million euros per player on the squad.
And they still don't have the books balance. They still need to sell 150 mil, roughly, Jamie Easton's number, to balance the books.
The part that's really frustrating, I'm going to get in the weeds here a little bit. The part that's really frustrating is this board, the Bartomeu board, is for me an extension of the now disgraced former president of Barcelona, Sandro Rosell, right? They were part of the same board that walked out on the previous president, Joan Laporta. They were the same board who, when they came in for elections, their platform was using some sort of creative math and creative accounting to say that the previous administration had been irresponsible and that they were the ones to clean it up. Then they lied about the price of Neymar. Obviously, that was an embarrassment. They panicked when Neymar was gone. They've lied about the signings of Antoine Griezmann. They've embarrassed the club, frankly. And I think Bartomeu specifically has to sort of take the responsibility for it because he's at the very top of the food chain at Barca.
A lot of mess to clean up at Barcelona. And with Barcelona's demise comes Real Madrid's success, naturally. Real Madrid Supercopa champions, but what the internet was talking about was not the trophy, it wasn't even Courtois, it was Fede Valverde, the man who was quite literally awarded the Man of the Match award for probably the greatest foul that he's ever given, I'm sure. Yeah. Do you think he deserved to be Man of the Match, considering the way that all went down?
So it's funny that Diego Simeone believed that he deserved to be Man of the Match because that was arguably the most influential play outside of the decisive penalties.
Right.
That was the most influential play. It happened with 5 minutes left in extra time. Alvaro Morata is on a breakaway. He's 1v1 against Thibaut Courtois. Courtois is not Keylor Navas, who's going to come out and stop those 1v1s quite as often. He's playing lights out, by the way. I don't mean to disparage Courtois. He's having an incredible moment right now at Real Madrid. But that looked like a surefire goal for Alvaro Morata. And Fede Valverde did what he did to stop it. And what I love about it is that it elevated in a weird way, it elevated the competition because we don't know what to make of the Supercopa. This is a new format. Now it's 4 teams, presumably the 4 best teams in Spain, but it's played in the middle of the season. So even though the Supercopa is often treated as a glorified friendly when it happens in the preseason, we didn't know how to sort of react to it in this new format with it happening during January now. But Valverde told you what he thought about it because I don't know if he makes that tackle in a league match. There was a trophy on the line and he did what he had to do to keep Real Madrid within reach of getting it.
It's an
absolutely brilliant.
Apparently.
It is absolutely a Uruguayan thing because remember,
you do what you got to do.
Remember Luis Suarez in the 2010 World Cup against Ghana, batting the ball off the line, taking his red card, conceding the penalty, but keeping Uruguay in it, and they advanced.
When in doubt, get a Uruguayan on your team. Let's move on. A big weekend for Liverpool, who had quite a record-breaking weekend. 61 points after 21 rounds. A record not only in the Premier League, but across the Europe's top 5 leagues. Is this the best team of the 2000s?
Of the 2000s, so of the century?
Yes.
No, because we saw Pep Guardiola's Barcelona play in this century. They won 6 trophies in a single year.
14 total.
They won the first ever treble in Spanish football. And to me, I never saw anything like Pep's Barca before. And I haven't seen anything like it since, and I'm not sure when we will. If you go back to those Champions League finals against Manchester United, first 10 minutes, United dominate. But go on and press any time slot after those first 10 minutes, and you're going to see the most beautiful, flowing, and effective football. You can in a final, no less. Usually, finals tend to be those cagey affairs where teams are trying not to lose. Pep Guardiola's Barca always went out to sort of dominate the opposition, and more often than not, they did. I think Liverpool are in the conversation, but I also think we're a little bit too quick to throw around words like dynasty and best of the century and whatnot with a team that has yet to win the league title. I mean, they're about to. They're runaway. They're sort of champions elect, if you like, but there will be time to crown them the best of the century if they make it there. I think they still have quite a ways to go.
What for you are they missing to be included in that conversation?
The consistency, right? Usually, I mean, we asked before about, and granted, they've done this for over a year now, where they've been the most dominant. Now, I would put them as the top team at the moment. But if we're talking about the best team of the last 20 years, I'm not so sure that they deserve that sort of praise yet. I mean, you're even looking at a Real Madrid team that won 3 consecutive Champions League titles. They're in the conversation. Obviously, Pep's Barca's in the conversation. To an extent, Luis Enrique's Barca won the only other Spanish treble in Spanish football history. So if we could just pump the brakes a little bit, enjoy Liverpool for what they are, and not try and make them the team of the century just yet.
Dre, we like to be dramatic here on Sports
Yeah,
Burst.
come on,
We also have eyes everywhere on Sports Burst, including on Andres Cordero's Twitter account. And you posted this really interesting tweet that I think we're going to pull up any minute now, saying that
we don't have it.
Klopp... Oh, we don't have it.
Dre
Okay,
deleted it.
just kidding. We don't have it.
deleted it.
Klopp tweeted that... Dre tweeted that Klopp would be top of your list to have a pint with.
Yeah, this was what pint? Sure. This
Well,
is
we can't talk about drinking.
apple juice. A pint of apple juice.
Yeah.
There was
This is a morning show, guys.
this
we
was-
shouldn't be talking about drinking.
This was a video. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. There was a video of Jurgen Klopp talking about what position Jose Mourinho used to play, and he was speculating was it goalkeeper, and he made someone Google during the press conference to see what it turned out to be midfielder.
Yeah.
But this was early on in his managerial career, sort of a sticking point for Jose Mourinho, because unlike some other very successful managers, he didn't have much success at all as a player. In fact, they used to joke calling him a translator because of his time at Barcelona, where he was technically a translator turned assistant coach.
Right.
And so Jurgen Klopp is just having such a good time. And granted, look at that face. How could you not want to sit across from him and have a pint and have him tell you stories about the good old days? But today, actually, I would probably change if it was today, if we were having that pint at a pub tonight, it would be with Ernesto Valverde.
Really? Okay, so this is the game we're going to play. Okay, so I have 5 managers, and you have to rank them, okay? Klopp, Mourinho.
Such a good picture.
Everyone focus.
It's such a good picture.
It is such a good picture.
He's
Klopp,
liberated.
Mourinho, Guardiola, Ernesto Valverde, Zidane. How would you rank them?
We have to rank them. I probably have those written down here somewhere because I didn't memorize what
Klopp?
you just said. Yeah.
Oh, Klopp. So you would bump Klopp down to number 2 then?
If it's today, yes.
Yes.
Really, it's
So
Klopp.
Ernesto
But news,
Valverde
yeah,
tops
recent
the
news,
list.
Yeah, but just because I want him to dish. I want to know.
You want the juice.
Yeah, I do.
Who would come bottom of your list?
Jose Mourinho doesn't seem like
I
a
knew
particularly.
it. See, in our production meeting, we speculated who would be bottom, and people said no, not Mourinho. I was like, Mourinho.
I feel like he would listen. By all accounts, Mourinho is a lovely guy, and his players. Just look at his Inter team, right? Players
loved him,
were
yes.
crying when he was on his way out.
Yes.
And so,
think so.
I think Mourinho is probably a really, really lovely guy, but I feel like he just spent the entire pint talking about himself.
That's a good one, huh? It's a good shot.
I
So
am
he's
the
at the bottom.
special
So
one.
he's at the bottom. Yeah, he's at the bottom of
It
the
is
list.
true. It is true. Okay, let's move on because we are running out of time. 3 minutes left on the clock. We didn't have Maurizio Sarri on the list. Where would he fall for you? Smoke a couple cigarettes with him?
It would be a cigar. I don't smoke cigarettes, and I don't know if he's a beer kind of guy. Maybe like a prosecco.
Yeah,
or
he's
like
or a wine.
whiskey clean.
He's a wine. He's definitely not a
like
beer.
a Chianti. But I know he's a smoker, so a cigar.
Juve had a great weekend. They are now top of Serie A table. Inter drop points with to Atalanta. People saying Serie A's over now.
Brilliant match, by the way. Atalanta
Brilliant
probably
match.
should have won that. Ended up being tied, so Juve reclaimed the top spot. They've won 8 consecutive Scudetti. It's really hard to imagine that. Even though this is kind of the scary thing about Juve is they haven't played their best football so far this season. It usually takes some time for Sarri's system to really sort of develop and reveal itself. We've seen a terrific version of Paulo Dybala emerging. There's obviously that chemistry between Cristiano and Gonzalo Higuain from their days at Real Madrid. So I think Juve can get even better, and they're top of the table right now. Whereas if you play the way that Inter play, Inter are very speculative. They defend a lot and they sort of rely heavily on those front two to score on the counterattack. I think that leaves a lot to chance. Whereas Juve maybe are more dominant. So yeah, I think Juve are going to win a 9th consecutive Scudetti.
Wow,
Scudetto.
you don't think Inter?
No
Well,
love.
they're in the conversation. I'm not ruling them out.
Right.
I'm just right now at the midpoint of the season with Juventus reclaiming the top spot, and I think their best footballer, Sarri, still ahead of them. they've got to be the odds-on favorites.
Inter, though, very active in the transfer market. We'll hop on the transfer train very quickly. Eriksen appeared to say goodbye to Tottenham fans in their loss to Liverpool. He was seen, taking a lap around the stadium, waving. 4.5-year deal. Spurs want 22 mil for him. What would this bring for Inter?
Well, they need a bit of they need something in midfield, right? They wanted Arturo Vidal, who's not necessarily creativity, but he's a force,
Right.
Tasmanian devil in midfield. And he treats the ball pretty well. Eriksen would be a creative force and a really good link up to Lautaro and Lukaku. So they've got two excellent forwards. Now the question is, how do you get the ball to them as much as possible? And I think Eriksen could be a really, really good answer for that.
Right, and to end our show, we want to send a huge congratulations to Serena Williams, who picked up her first trophy since giving birth to her daughter, Alexis Olympia. We absolutely love this. She donated all of her winnings to fight the Australian fires. Yeah, so just a go. The greatest of all time. Not only female player, but athlete in general. There's nothing.
The queen.
Yeah, I know. Like, all hail Queen Serena. We do want to let you guys know that we have a full agenda live on beIN Sports tonight. It begins with Weekend Winners live at 7 p.m., followed by Magisterial at 7:30, and then Monday Night Soccer at 8 o'clock. So just sit on your couch and watch beIN. It'll be fun. Bye, guys.